start it up. Hit the play button.
Been doing nonstop interviews.
For the UFC, just grab people up at the behest of ice. You see what the Eagles are doing? Talking about how we needed to remain in Jurassic Park. They have break battles and car shows and we're working on our next spot. Right here. But I was first one to record Darnell. I'm not everybody in the mama.
Yes, indeed. We are back once again. It's the Build and Destroy show. Wicked Meticulous, May Dolly, High Rise in the building. Please, if you have not done so already, hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you nothing. We are here with a special guest. Of course, you can see on your screen, as we customarily do. We'll let High Rise give the esteemed guest a proper introduction.
Yes. All the people out there we have with us, with no further ado, we got SmokeM2D6, most prominently known from probably the Old Dominion crew, Pacific Northwest hip-hop giant out here, who is an MC, a producer, a very sought-after and skilled engineer, an artist, and he is currently living in our hometown of Tacoma, Washington. And we are going to go deep in the history of his hip-hop origin story, how he gets by day to day doing what he does, and some Old Dominion lore, y'all. We got Smoke.
Clap it up.
Yeah.
Make some noise.
How's it going?
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. Hey, we won't waste any
I'm
time.
stoked to be here.
Like he said, we are very interested in old deep stories and you personally, and then your connections overall through the Northwest hip hop scene. So I'm gonna go ahead. We're gonna start it off with. I know High Rise has got his journalistic side of questions to begin us off. So we're gonna start there.
All right, for sure. So yeah, I wasn't sure if I wanted to start off going back to Old Dominion stuff. I definitely want to talk about that, but maybe just for the sake of currentness, I'd say you're most busy now as I'd say maybe an engineer. Would you agree? Is that or producer?
I'm doing a lot more producing right now than I am engineering. Like the production is, I do a lot of production.
Okay, hell yeah. And so we'll talk about that, but just for the listeners, so their ears can perk up. I mean, you're doing production for all of the main people, the current artists that people may know of now. From go ahead. We'd like to hear some names, honestly, just to get people to know. I know every time I talk to somebody, they're at least recording with you, from bars to, I know Double B in Olympia, and obviously you're in an Old Dominion. So, I'd love to hear a good name of some people that you get to just bump heads with and that you're currently working with.
I've worked with Open Mike Eagle before on a couple of his albums, mixing those. I've worked on there's so many, I don't know where to begin. It's like I do a lot of production for everyone in Olympia. Anyone you can name in Olympia, pretty much I've been doing some producing for them, some mixing. A lot of up and comers, like I'm doing an album with Shady B right now that's absolutely man, it's so dope. We just got done with all the production, like getting all the songs together yesterday, and so we have a full album now that we're like right in the middle of polishing up. It's really dope. I'm working on an album with AKA right now, which is easily his best work to date yet. It's crazy. It's really good. Working with this new guy named VJ, who's like a really dope singer, and it's kind of like I don't want to say like Broken Bells type thing, but it's alternative, but hip hop still, you know. So it's really dope. That's going sick. Of course, yeah, like you mentioned, I'm working with Bars. He's steadily releasing stuff. I'm working with this guy named Wild Card right now. He's kind of doing his thing. Let's see. I mean, other than that, I've produced on tracks for I could Talib Kweli, Dead Prez, Barrington Levy. I even did a Prodigy before he passed away. I did a track with I don't know. It keeps going. There's lots. And then but that my main bread and butter right now is actually I do a lot of advertising too. Like I'm in the sync realm a lot. And that's really dope because I can just make whatever I want to, and you know, it ends up on a Toyota commercial, and it's like, all right, you know, like it's pretty dope. It allows me to just like make crazy stuff all the time. So that's kind of the rundown of like, you know, what I'm producing, or at least that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm doing a lot more than that, but I just can't, you know. It's like I can go through my bounce folder if you want, but it's,
no, those names are good.
Yeah.
As far as those like commercials and stuff, is that basically just getting down with a good like placement company, you would call it?
I am with a very good sync agency, and they're called Marmoset, and they're out of Portland, and they pitch my stuff a lot. I can make a real kind of like hip hop sound without using samples. Like I'm really good at like doing that, and that's sort of like my little niche, you know, when they need some like something that sounds boom bap or 90s or whatever, you know, they'll come to me, and that's usually like, you know, where I can really get in there and do that. And so that's I do a lot of that with them, and it's pretty cool. Like you know, I'm always working on some crazy new something. Like I just did a fishing commercial for Columbia that was like starts off with a banjo, but then it's trapped out by the end, you know, and it's like it's pretty tight.
That is. All right, cool. And then yeah, we usually just go rotate and just ask you questions. We just take turns. So
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Big.
Go for it.
Yeah, man. I wanted to ask, you know, your music's so dense. It's like it's a whole bed of sounds. And obviously your engineering skills help you to keep it from being muddy. I just want to ask you, when do you know that a beat is done?
It's a feeling a lot of the times, you know, like I'll be like adding stuff, and then like I'll add that one last little element, and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, there it is, you know, oh, it's done. I also like challenge myself to do at least a beat a day, sometimes two, you know. I'm currently like 500 beats for the year, so like I have a very like rigid, I have to get this done no matter what, you know, no matter what I'm doing, where I'm at, whatever that, you know. Sometimes I'm not able to be in my studio for the day, and you know, we're making beats on an iPad, or I have an MPC 2, so I can, you know, I can just, that has a battery on it and a speaker, so I can, you know, sit in the car while picking kids up or something like that, you know, and bang a beat out. So that's pretty tight. But I have I'm very, you know, I definitely challenge myself though to get one a day done. And so when you're in the, you know, when you kind of have that sort of discipline with it, it becomes really easy to just like fly through beats, and it starts becoming a reflex even, you know, and like, you know, the more you use your creativity, the easier it is to use, I guess, you know, it applies to it. And so I've been doing that for so long that, you know, anytime I sit in front of there's never beat block, you know, I can just sit down in front of a computer and it's happening. It might not be the best beat that I make that day, but at least I do it, you know, to try and, you know, keep the weapon sharp. And I have noticed too that like the more that I produce, the better off things just end up being for me, you know. Like I did have a year where I was like, okay, I'm gonna cut back on producing, and you know, I'm only gonna make 200 beats this year, and you know, all of a sudden like stuff started falling off. I don't know, it's hard to explain that, but you know, it's definitely an observation that I've made. So I just try and keep it at least a beat a day.
It's well said, man. Thank you.
Well, I got a two-part question for you.
Alright.
First is just if you can give us a breakdown of how you got your name and what it means, or if that's if your name was something else before, how it evolved, and then second is were you always a producer and an MC, or where did you fall into one or the other? Our past guests, some started off as MCs and went to producers, and some vice versa. So, if you can give us some background on that.
Okay. Well, first of all, my government name is Matt Smokovich. So Smoke is sort of a that was just a I've been Smoke since the second grade. And then I started writing graffiti, in middle school, and instead of being, Smoke 1 or 2 or whatever, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have Android coordinates behind my last name. So I just made up M2D6. I wish, and then I signed up for a Gmail, and what ended up happening is that stuck with me forever. So be careful. Be careful about signing up for a Gmail with your old tagging name. But yeah, I wish I try and tell people that there's something more significant than that every time that they ask. And Josh kind of warned me that you might ask that, and so I was like, I won't make up an elaborate story. It's more fun when you do it on the spot, or like, oh yeah, well, yeah, but no, there's no significance to the M2D6 other than I'm not a 1. So, and so as far as what I started out as an MC, always rapping, and I come from a little, I grew up in the 90s, and I didn't have anywhere to get beats. So there was a Mary J. Blige CD. I think it was her second one. And she did that All Night Long cover. And it starts off with a loop, with a drum loop. And that's the only place where I could actually find a beat. So I went between the two tape decks, and I created this big drum loop to that little break that happened there, and I started rapping over that. And I was, all throughout high school, and even when when Old Dominion was first starting, I was just rapping. That's all I was doing. And then because there was so many rappers and so little producers in Old Dominion, and I was just learning how to produce, I could never really get beats from people, that I really liked, or if I did, and I looking back now, yeah, some of my rapping wasn't as good back in the day, so I get it, but I was just starting out. So I started making beats for me so I could rap over stuff, and so I'd make a beat for myself and I'd rap over it, and people are like, yo, where'd you get that beat? I'm like, oh, I made it, and they're like, well, let me get one of those, and it just kind of started out like that. And in fact, interesting thing is the first person to actually rap over one of my beats was an Exigorus. Yeah, it was a song called "What the Fuck" off of the "You Wanted" album. That was my first beat that I made that somebody else rapped over. So kind of interesting relating to
that. Sounds familiar to me. The name of that song, as far as the Exigorus.
It's just I sampled some. I sampled some orchestral something or other and made a bounce beat, and that was it on the ASR X. But yeah, no, that was the first person. And so what ended up happening is, of course, I still rap as much as I did back in the day. I have so many secret little albums that I'm working on all the time. But my rappings right now sometimes just feels like it's for me. It's I'm working on everybody else's stuff all day, and I'm working on. I have a pretty wide range of stuff that I work on. I'll be working on. In fact, in the last 24 hours, I worked on a rock hip hop song. I worked on a couple soul songs. I worked on a trap song, and I worked on a song with bars that was boom bap. So and that's pretty typical for me, where I'm just constantly all over the place. And so when I get to my stuff, I'm just a backpacker at heart, you know what I mean? So I'm more making weird backpack music that I bump on my walks to Safeway. So yeah, but now I'm definitely full-time producing. That's that's the thing that sustains me and my family. So I'm very fortunate to be able to do that, and I love doing it too. So that helps a lot too. And like, there'll be something that when I'm like 95, I'll probably still be pounding on the MPC if my fingers can take it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure you'll just be talking at the AI at that point, and it'll be stuff will be happening, but whatever.
High rise back to you.
Yeah, well, as far as going back to the early days, and how did you start your relationship with hip hop? You know, was it through graffiti first, or sounds like it was probably rapping? And how early are we talking? And are you more of the Portland or the Seattle camp of Old Dominion? And when did you start meeting these guys? And kind of talk us through like the early stages of you.
I got you.
Yeah. Rooting yourself as an artist.
I went to Linwood High School, and my first hip hop was actually breakdancing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like where I first got exposed. There's a lot of really good breakers that were up there. And I actually was a student, like I was in the media program for like 4 years in high school. And I basically, what I would do is I just like run around and film breakdancers all the time. And that was sort of like, the hell no, I am not breakdancing. It was not in the cards for me. I tried, too much of a oaf for that, but I'd film them, and then I'd go to like all the b-boy battles, and always was like way into that side of things. And then, of course, like graffiti kind of came, and and those are my first like two things I was really into. And it wasn't until like the end of high school where I was like trying to make some career choices for the media stuff, because I was actually like pretty good at all that. And I don't know if you guys had Channel 1 when you were in high school, but it was like you'd have to like watch it every like 10 minutes at the beginning or end of the day, and all the high schools would get cable and all that. So it was like a big national thing. And as like a media student, I actually won. I got to fly out there and do a student produced week. And so like I was out there doing that, and I actually, because of that, they were filming Second Round Knockout for Cannabis, like right in the same studio that we were in.
What?
So I'm actually in that video in the crowd.
Whoa.
It was, dude, and so I like looked out and I seen Mike Tyson on like a white Benz, and I'm like, that's Mike Tyson. And then Wyclef was sitting over there, you know what I mean? So I was like, can I go down there and like try and get their autograph? And I was like, I'm in high school at that point. And I go down there, and Mike Tyson is cool as hell, oh yeah, like here you go. Wyclef didn't want to talk to any of the students. He was like, he was off doing his thing. But then Cannabis comes out. He's like, hey, you always want to be extras in the video, like all the kids that were in there. So we got to like actually go and sit and watch some of that, and like jump up and down in some of the crowd scenes and stuff like that. So that was pretty dope. But back to what I was saying though is I'm trying to make career decisions about what I wanted to do, and during that, I think it was like my junior year in high school, I met MG. I went to church with MG. I don't know if you know who he is.
MG the Visionary.
Like, yes, MG the Visionary.
Yeah, no, I do know who he is.
He had a studio and everything, and I started going over to, of course, because I was videotaping. So I made him a couple little music videos back in the day, but he like let me go over to his studio and like just see how it all works and watch him make beats. And I was like, yo, that's what I want to do. I don't want to go to film school, because like that was the question. It was like, yo, do you want to go to film school? You're really interested. My teacher's like, you're really interested in the audio part of things. Why don't you just go and get, an internship when you get out of school and skip the 40 grand that you're going to have to put down on education. I'm like, that was my teacher. I was like, yo, just start straight up. Just go get an internship or start making your own music. And, so I did that right after school. And that's pretty much when I graduated, Old Dominion was just starting to be a thing. And I was introduced to Old Dominion through MG. MG knew a couple of the dudes, from Old Dominion, or at the time it wasn't Old Dominion, it was Oracle's Creed. And we had our own crew called the Buffoon Circle, which was me, MG, Bishop I, and Ruben AP. And so Ruben was the one who actually introduced us to Oracle's Creed, which was Henri, Sleep, and Pale. And so we'd always be kicking it around there, and it was always dope because it was just a constant 20 dudes, or at that point it was like 10 people living in a house with a one beat machine, and it was just straight up, it's as hip hop as you can get. You know what I mean? Like always freestyling, always. They at this point they hadn't gotten their own recording gear yet. That was still early. But as things did evolve, and we met up, the Old Dominion at first was Oracle's Creed and Frontline, and then it started absorbing crews kind of around it. Right. Everybody just kind of formed. We were actually first known as Society of SOS, which was stupid, but Society of Shadows. And we just Ruben hated that name. No. It's going to be either Silver Hill or Old Dominion. We're like, ooh, that's just kind of how it came about. By the time we were Old Dominion, we were living in Lake City at that point. So even the Portland people that were there, it kind of came up here and were, if not spending the majority of the week here, they were, back and forth a lot. There was a lot of back and forth from Portland at that time. And, we were at a place we called Anchorhead, which was in Lake City, right behind Rick's, the strip bar, which was hilarious. But at that point, we gained there's 20 people in the crew, at this point. We just kept absorbing people that we'd find, and people that kind of we're all brothers, you know what I mean? So we all absolutely get along with each other. But there'd be times we had 3 studios in this house, and there'd be times when the electricity would get shut off, and we'd run the electrical wires into there was a shared laundry room, and we'd just be stealing electricity just to record raps, We were all about that time. And I think there was a 2-year period where we lived in that house, and I would say 500 or 600 songs happened during that whole era. And that's when everything kind of starting for Old Dominion, we got in pretty early with mp3.com, and that's where a lot of people knew our stuff from, because we were just kind of there at the beginning, kind of rode the wave, and had a couple 100,000 downloads, it was that's how we were able to go on our first tour. It's because people knew us from there, and it all kind of took off from there. We were putting out a bunch of unofficial things and opening up for everybody, because Destro's brother also was one of the biggest show promoters in Portland. So anytime a big name would come through Portland, we'd always get thrown on the opening thing. And I don't know if you ever saw us open back in the day, but it was
I did
20 fools getting ruckus, and so everything's kind of evolved from there. We started touring, and then eventually Gray Skull signed to Rhyme Sayers, and it just kind of grew from there. You know what I mean? So but yeah, no, we all were hella hip hop back in the day, for sure.
What's a good definitive album or piece of work from back then that you would say that kind of sums up the whole thing that y'all represent?
So what happened is, as a group, Old Dominion really has only put out 2 different albums.
Yeah.
So our official release was called One, which one was tight. I mean, One definitely was it was cool, you know what I mean? But I don't feel like it really captures the essence of that era at all, I'd say if you were really looking at it, I don't even know. Hold on, I have to check my computer, but I'm not sure if Henri ever released. I think he did. There's an album that Henri did. I'm trying to figure this out. It was a second album. It was not. It's called The In Between, I think is what it was called. It was His first one, oh no, In Between was in 2005. So that was later. Is the Gray Area.
Yeah.
The Gray Area, Alone, and In Between really like those were a lot of the orphaned Old Dominion cuts that were like really good that were kind of floating around. So I mean that's a good place to start, but I mean the catalog is also so crazy big that it's like it's really hard to get around. However, I'm also the official keeper of the archive, so I have everything. You know, I have everything that we've done. I have it all in a Google Drive link.
Yeah, I've seen the skateboard and I've seen the stickers. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, crazy enough, you know, the guys who were doing our merch at the beginning now are like a full-blown like merch company called Concuss, and they still press up like Old Dominion shirts and buttons and hoodies.
Sick.
And I mean, dude, I think I was just there the other day, and Castro, the guy who owns it, gave me a whole bunch of like Old Dominion stickers that like are new. I'm like, oh, tight, like
yeah, that's sick.
We'll put the owl up anywhere,
Yeah, where do we get official Old Dominion merch if we wanted to get a hoodie or something? Where is it?
ConcussCreations.com.
Okay. And Castro, he's a musician, right?
Yeah, he was actually in Gray Skull.
Does he do
bass player in Great? Yes, he was the bass player on the first Gray Skull album. Whatever the first Gray Skull album was called. I can't even remember. What was the first Gray Skull album called?
I don't remember, but
I'll figure it out. Here.
I know he's in that.
I have it all right here.
He does all their. He's like part of that crew.
Yeah, no, and he was actually very he introduced Gray Skull to like Mr. Hill and all those people, and so he was actually I'd say for a long time Old Dominion got way more Portland based, like a majority of our members at a time were definitely down in Portland, because everybody from Seattle was kind of moving down to Portland, just because it's Seattle, it's not, none of us were really, it's starting to get unaffordable even back then, you know what I mean? And like Portland just always been super livable. And so a lot of us were kind of merging down there, and he, with him joining Old Dominion, it kind of like brought us back to Seattle a little bit more. And we had more of a home base there. And he hooked us up with Mr. Hill and Bean One. Those are kind of like, he kind of like bridged the connections with them. And then, the people who was running our label is all out of Seattle too. So, we were right there, I guess. What is it called? Hold on, I think I found it. It is, of course it just says, I think it's just Gray Skull.
Yeah, like self-titled maybe.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, Gray Skull. And then Gray Skull, I only produced one thing on the first one, but then the second one, I produced most of it, or at least the majority of it, with like Scarecrow and all that stuff. The first one was all Hill. Like Old Dominion went through like a Mr. Hill era where it was just all Mr. Hill beats, and it was dope,
Golly.
Your last project, I think it was when you were performing at, what was that, McMiniman's on the hilltop? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wanting to ask, is that do you like LP? Like, you remind me of what LP has been doing for all these years. Like, it's just so dense, and I don't know, like your music, it just swallows you in, and I love how it's just a journey. And I just want to ask, like, how do you curate a project like that, man? Because that one it's a real piece of art, man.
LP is one of my favorite producers of all time, of course. So you like, so to be even like mentioned in the same sentence with him is like an honor, you know what I mean? Like, man, okay, he's definitely one of my favorites. See, the thing with Quarantine Heartthrob, that's the name of the album. That was sort of like, I've been working on this other album called Villain Machine, and it was just, I was getting to a point with it where it wasn't fun anymore, and I was not it's like 95% of the way done too. That's the part that sucks about it. I was just kind of like, oh, like working on it was hurting. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna work on something completely different for a second. And obviously quarantine happened and all that. And I'm like, all right, let's just make an album about this, and like and so I did, and I made that album actually pretty quick. I think it was like 6 months, maybe. And it was just like nice to just work on something and not have to like keep it all cohesive. Like Villain Machine is that where everything's kind of flies into each other and it's all over the place. But it's way dense, way too dense. In fact, like maybe too dense, and maybe that's what the problem is for me. Where I'm like, just put a beat in there and just rap over it, fool. So Quarantine Heartthrob was kind of just like hey, I'm gonna go have fun making some music, and that's what that was. And actually, weirdly enough, currently I've been doing a couple of like beat sets as of late, and that's kind of evolving into an instrumental album that I think I'm like pretty much done with. And yeah. I'm gonna be trying to put it out on vinyl here this year, I think. Yeah. So, but it's a lot different than like the stuff that you would think that I would do. It's like has a little of everything in it. It goes from like, of course we'll have like it's like little LP elements, but like also have a disco song on there. I have some hyper pop, some weird electro stuff. I don't know. It's all over the place, but it's super danceable. But I figured that I could say whatever I want as long as people are dancing. And it's like the subject matter of the album is like very serious, but everyone's dancing, so it's easier to talk about things when people are dancing, I guess.
Love it.
Well, I got it.
Good.
Oh, I was just gonna bring up. We got someone in the chat who's very familiar. Looks like Sneeko's dad. He's got a few comments here. Malto.
Shout out the live chat.
Ruben from Old Dominion. He said was his favorite or the best. He said I need a copy of That's Racist, and said May you should have gave a pause when you said it swallows you in.
Shut up.
So, in case you want to know who that is, that's Anaxagoras.
Yeah.
Oh, tight. I hope he heard all the props. I hope he heard all the props he was getting earlier. He's gonna have to jump into the Patreon to hear the bonus material. True, man. The whole first part of this show's about you, Anax.
Well, for those who don't know, it's new. We just got it set up, so it's still all free, but we'll be throwing that up there. So you do have to go to the Patreon /BLDNDSTRY to check it out. We'll get that up probably later tonight. Well, I'm gonna kick it back to you. Yeah. Well, I think May's already got that in the works, so he's got that under his booking contract.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna pass it back to High Rise and May to find. I don't want to step on May's toes, but I'd love to get a producer question to round us out in the end.
Good idea. Okay, yeah, I just got one more. Then when you listen to Old Dominion music, it sounds the words that you would describe it with. Maybe dark and shadowy and sort of dreary and, rainy and, wet and gray and sort of, like a Weastwick sort of vibe with, underground wizards and witches but not devoid of beauty, of course.
Right.
But
absolutely.
and these are some of the words that I think describe Seattle and Portland environments and weather and the way it looks and how the sky is the same gray as the street, and there's just a sort of moisture in the air, and it's forever out there. And you know, I mean, to me, that is proof that like that Old Dominion sound is the Northwest hip hop sound. And it always bugged me that people would be like, well, the Northwest hip hop doesn't have a sound. And I kind of understand what they were saying. And there's a lot of people that don't sound like Old Dominion that are awesome Northwest artists, trendsetters. But just the fact that Old Dominion is so massive, so all encompassing as member wise and geographic wise, from Oregon all the way to British Columbia, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even
Josh
Alaska,
Martinez,
who
yeah.
knows? I don't know. And so I mean, it begged for me, it just is that is a we do have a Northwest hip hop sound and aesthetic and feeling, and it comes from y'all. So that's not really necessarily a question, but you could agree or speak on that or whatever.
I totally agree. You know, like during that whole time too, we were all going, you know, I mean, we'd all just, you know, that's right in your early 20s. You're just leaving home. You're kind of having that whole like, well, you know, what's next? You know, what's going on? And it just so happened that we were around like, I don't know if you've been able to kick it around many Old Dominion people, but they're hilarious. And we just sit and clown on each other all day. And like, that's just what we do for fun half the time, you know? And we really went through some like dark stuff together. And, you know, because of it, we just made some really dark music, you know? And it was, it was definitely like anyone who would come around like the places where we were recording would definitely see that and just be like, yo, this is crazy over here, you know? We did also attract our fair share of crazy people, you know. We'd always end up with some stragglers in there, you know, that like think that, you know, there's cameras in the ceiling. Maybe they were right, you know, but we'd always get those people in there too a little bit. So we had to start, you know, tightening it up a little bit. But yeah, no, we definitely, I'd say we had our fingerprint on the sound earlier on for sure, you know, and it was definitely this like aggressive and gray, dark sound that, you know, a couple of the founding members like Henri, I would say Henri Osborne is really the catalyst behind a lot of the sound. If you were to like look back at all of it, I mean, everyone has contributed a lot, but he's kind of somebody that wherever he is, he kind of like people kind of gravitate to him. And, you know, he's always kind of playing with how he sounds. And, you know, he was the person that I think a lot of times people were trying to impress as an MC, because you sit with him and like I said, we used to just rap at each other and we just rap for hours, and you'd listen to him rap and he like really kind of pulls you in and, you know, makes kind of, he has this whole world that he lives in kind of that he like will pull you into. And, you know, when you're a part of it, a lot of people will start kind of acting that way too. And there's a lot of that in Old Dominion, I think, where, I mean, we all, you know, have our own individual, you know, personalities and stuff, but he was definitely a catalyst for like the whole way that it sounds. And I mean, if you followed his career, you can hear the Old Dominion like throughout that, you know, and like,
Absolutely.
I'd say that's like that's kind of like a constant theme that he has. And now I don't know if you listen to anything he's done this year, but he's really like, you know, he moved out to to Florida for a while. I don't want to spill his business too much, but he moved to Florida for a while and he was just producing beats out there. You know, he makes beats on an ASR-X, you know, an old school. The ASR-X is right after the ASR-10, you know, right. And that's just what he's always rocked on. And it, you know, it constantly is going through these cycles of being broke, and he gets it repaired and, you know, all this stuff. Well, this last time, I don't know what he was doing in Florida, but he made a whole bunch of beats. And it's like, it's all kind of on some like new school beat style, you know what I mean? Where the beat happens, but it don't. And he's like, I don't know, he's in like the sweet spot for what he's doing, what he's always been trying to do right now. And it's like, I think personally, like if you just like listen to, and he's put out like maybe 5 or 6 albums this year. He's put a lot, you know, like it's getting to the point almost. He's like, you know, he's always like shooting me the links for the new albums. Like, hold on, man, chill.
And it's
No,
and it's Bandcamp a lot of it too, right?
Yeah, and you know, as an independent artist, you know, he definitely has realized is like, yo, what's Spotify gonna do for me? You know, like it's obviously, you know, you get exposure, but there's more people that want to like support that type of artist, and Bandcamp is like the best way to do that. And I think it's a really good strategy. I think it's been paying off for him pretty well, you know, especially for the style of everything he's releasing right now. It's not like it's pretty left field, you know. It's like it's like Freddie Gibbs, but the Northwest style of Freddie Gibbs, you know. It's sort of, he's not talking about drugs or anything. He's talking about battling ghouls and wizards and you know, no, and just bad. Like he's pretty awesome. He actually he did a song on, it was an older album. And this is how dope Henri is. Like he did this song. You know, his daughter had cancer. Yeah. And so he made this whole album when she had cancer that was like very serene and kind of peaceful. Yeah. He did this song called Whale Watching, right? And you just like listen to it and he's like, oh, he's talking about, you know, watching for whales. But what he's actually talking about is checking his daughter's neck for, you know, tumor growth and stuff like that. And he's just dope like that, you know, where he can like the way he tells stories and raps is super unique to him. And yeah, you know, he's way doper than you think he is, you know, like that's yeah. I feel like that's always the one thing that I always say to people when they're talking about who their favorite MCs are and everything. Yeah. Henri's way doper than you think he is. Yeah. You know, you just have to be around him to understand like kind of his angle he's coming from, which, you know, that's an aesthetic choice by him, but yeah, it's still really dope and serves him really well, you know? Yeah. Well, man, that's cool that you spent time and sort of talked about Old Dominion through him and gave him his props. And I do think Henri is so amazing and talented and incredible and ever evolving, but still also so himself all the time. And he's able to do so much within his pocket. It's such a unique place. He's right there, but it's still diverse. And he's one of my favorites. And I do think just when it's all said and done, like his body of work does make him just one of the most incredible artists just ever, you know? So yeah, shoot, I'd love to have him on too. So I'm sure he'd do it. Help us out with that. But yeah, shout out Henri, and that's cool that you spent time breaking him down and everything, because he's really worthy of all of this time and attention you're giving him. Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely worth it. Do you want to know who everybody else? You know, everyone has a favorite MC in Old Dominion, though. Yeah, it's NyQuil. That's yours. Have you ever heard of? That's everybody. So you ask anybody in Old Dominion who's the best MC amongst you, and they will say, oh, that's NyQuil. Easy. Like, no, I think that's the only answer you'd get. Like, oh yeah, NyQuil. You know what I mean? Like, and he's one of them dudes that like, he's so good, but the line sometimes between like genius and insanity is like, and he like, I can listen to verses of his from 1998 that sounds ahead of even what's happening right now with any genre you throw it. I could throw his old verses over a trap beat and be like, what? You know, like he always had this like crazy cadence and this crazy way of putting things that is still, you know, like when I do dive into the archives, and I've had to do that a lot lately. I've been talking to this German guy who's like a super collector, and he has his own little podcast. And he had me break down all Old Dominion over the course of a couple months, you know, like, and so I was digging into a lot of old stuff, and sometimes I still come across NyQuil verses where I'm like, man. Is he Portland or Seattle
area?
He's Portland. He's always been Portland. He never really. I mean, he's stayed up in Seattle a lot, but he's definitely like Portland to the bone. And he's like, he's a dude who like, I think last time Gil Scott Heron came through, they let him do just like a spoken word opening for him, and he had everyone in the crowd just jaw dropped. You know, he's definitely. There'd be times where like we're all watching him write songs, you know, and like he's like doing all this crazy stuff on the table, and that's his process, you know, like putting stuff all over the table, and you know, and we like then he started noticing that we're all laughing at him. He's like, "Oh, give me the booth," and we're like, "Okay." He's like, "First track, go," and you know, Snafu would hit that, and he's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, next track, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, next track, 1, 2, you know, and so he also has track accounting. But then there'd be these like big blank spots. He's like, "You hear them where those blank spots are?" And it's like, "Yeah, that's where my words are supposed to go." And you're like, "Dude, whatever, man, shut up." And he's serious, and he'd rap like that. And it's like his style is definitely unique, but it's also like it does go over people's heads for sure. Like sometimes people don't even understand what is this, you know, like what is this guy saying? And I don't know. Yeah, he's definitely like. Anyone in Old Dominion will talk about him for hours. Put it like that, you know. He's just like he's crazy good. Same with Barfly too. You know, I'm actually working on an album with Barfly right now. That's pretty dope. You know, he's been coming through every weekend, and he's been working on some stuff. And he's back at it. You know, writing just as well as he ever did. He's totally sober too. You know, which is awesome. Which is huge for him. And he's like really leaning into it, and he's like better than he's ever been. You know, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, nice. That was the Saturday. Was he Saturday nights in Saturday?
Yeah, he was in Saturday nights.
Yeah, okay.
He is someone I met online in a rap. Like I used to get on rap forums and just we'd key style. You know what I mean? Like we battle rap, and I actually met him on a rap site like that. And basically, I was like, "Dude, you just need," because he was dope. He was filthy. He still is, but you know, I was like, "Bro, you need to come up here and see what we're doing," you know. And he did, and he like moved up from California. He's like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Yeah, bro, it's sick, huh?" You know, think about kicking it with like 25 of the illest rappers that you know, like, and it's just constant. You're dunking on each other constantly, and you know, like, just all night battles, you know, like it was a dope experience and thing to be around, you know, like when you're stealing electricity for studio electricity, you know, and like running 3 different studios off of one extension cord because all 20 of you guys couldn't pay the electricity bill because we were all on the struggle bus.
You guys really do sort of need to have your own show to document that history, because you know it's sort of you have endless stories. Everybody's got such a rich history to break down. There's so many little subgroups, and you know,
I mean, there's the Portland faction is completely different from the Seattle faction too, you know, like it's both like has its own lores to it. And I was always in between both, you know, like I've never really, I grew up in Linwood in Seattle and all that. And I just have from day one, just not really been too much a fan of that scene. Like, I was like, I love Portland, you know? So as soon as I was old enough, I moved out of Seattle. I was down in Portland, Austin for a while too, and then Olympia. And then, you know, now it's Tacoma. We actually moved back down to Portland for a while. And then finally in like, what, it was 2017 after we had our first kid, we moved back from Portland up to here, and been here ever since.
So, all right. Thank you, man. May, go for it.
I always like asking producers about the beat titles or song titles. Does Does the beat tell you what to name it, or is the beat done and then you just slap whatever, just like whatever title?
Okay, so I have a Google Drive full of beats, and I always will get people like, okay, bro, how are you? How do you name your beats? You know, like, what? Because the beat names are ridiculous. You know, like, come on. If I were just to go in here, but I do have like a way that I name things. You know, like if something is kind of trapped out, there'll be kind of a trap sort of reference to it, maybe slightly, or if something is more soulful, you know, I'll be talking more about how, you know, it'll always make some sort of reference to grease or warmth or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, let's see, if I'm just opening up here's my available beats folder, and I'll just start from the top. I have Gotham Cuddles, that's a good one. I got Newports in Newport. I got Gibberish Wizard. Charles Thickens. I just know Charles Thickens. That's a soul beat. You know, Unicorn Tats. I know that is that's a hyper pop one. You know, Buff Jazz Guy. That's probably me getting all Flying Lotus on him. City Goth. Monk Funk. Mitsubishi Massacre. Mechanical Violence. And it goes on. They did a there was a couple of cats. There's a crew down in Portland called Blue Collar Rhymers, and they did this whole, like, they rented out some mansion in Austin. They hadn't really actually met each other, and they recorded an album, made it a documentary about it, and it's out everywhere. There's a whole section on my beat names in there, you know, because they're running through my beat folder, and they're like, what is this guy doing?
They're bars.
Yes. But to answer your question, yeah, it's just like, what does this beat feel like to me right now? And I have to name something, and I just go for it. You know what I mean? With, you know, like a couple of rules, like I was saying, where if it's something trappy, I'll trap something. Will be mentioned some sort of trap element of things, or if something's boom bap-ish, you know, we'll be talking about Falcon Blood. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, that's what's dope, right? So even though you're naming them these names, you're almost cataloging them still, in a sense, to where you know how to find them in your folder.
Oh yeah,
like you said.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Like I can look at, and then I also, in my folder, it's like 70. You know, I'll have the beats per minute and the key that it's in too. You know what I mean? So like, so I can look at Hog Hell, 89 beats per minute, B minor, and know that that's like a soulful type beat. You know what I mean? Just because there's mention of Hog in there. And it's 89 beats per minute, which is usually where you're gonna be doing that at. But yeah, you know, so yeah, I kind of have like a little method to it, but a lot of it is pretty just random. We have to save. What are we thinking of right now?
Right on.
Oh, a wassail harvest. Okay.
Dope.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I want to, on behalf of the Build and Destroy show, thank you for coming on and sharing your wealth of history. And I did have one more question, but as the archivist, who created the OWL logo?
Okay. That's a collaboration between Henri. Henri drew it out, like he wanted OLD to be the you know, the O for the eye, the L for the nose, and then the D for the other eye. And that was his, and he knew he wanted it to be in the shape of an owl. But then Barfly is actually the graphic design dude, and he was able to kind of take that and like make it into, you know, the logo that it is. And so I'd say it's a collaboration between Henri and Barfly, but those two solely are responsible for that.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, where can our folks check you out at, social medias, or what's the next project you got going on that you want our audience to check you out on?
Okay. I'd say the best place to check me out on is Instagram. I'm just SmokeM2D6 on Instagram. That's usually where I'm posting most of the stuff that I am posting up. You know, I try to make little beat videos. But I'm also on TikTok, SmokeM2D6 as well. I'm on Facebook. I have a SmokeM2D6 page, and I'm Matt Smokovich on Facebook. And then I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it. SmokeM2D6 there too. It's pretty consistent across everything.
Dope. All right. Well,
And you can find me.
Thank you, man. I'll send you the link to this here if you feel like posting it later, after a little bit later tonight. And yeah, you thank you so much for breaking all that down, man.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you guys having me on here, and I look forward to any kind of future stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Vice versa.
Yeah.
We're always
man, it's
down,
nice
we're
to meet
always down
everybody.
we'd love to be a part of any shows, open up for you, any releases, all of that. So keep us in mind, man. Thank you.
Yeah, that'll be filthy, man.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right, folks.
All right,
you know
man.
what time it is, where we get to our halftime musical break. We won't be playing any Iranian booty cheeks at this stage, but we do have that being mentioned in the chat as one of the beat names from our featured guest today. We'll be right back at you. You know that halftime break is only about 10 minutes. We're going to come and decompress on our awesome interview with our guests, and then we got some topics to go over with y'all today. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you nothing.
They living so fast. They evil. They evil. So cold, they evil. They living so fast.
Inviting lightning inside your mind's hella exciting. Can't say the tricycle idea is never enlightening. Personally, I don't fuck with the shit though. To me, it's cake icing that tastes like fried my shit. Adapt to the environment, make your own ice pick. Cause it's a cold globe, prepare for the slightest change in climate. Surviving the science, alkaline diet produce the right hybrid. Calculate the buyback from Tiani and ISIS. Calcified pineal glands get reignited. About to get fine plants cracking, we on thin ice shit. To make an impact, you have to be strong, united, but have to work in class and sided with the pirates of industry. The American dream has been bittersweet for black folks for more than multiple centuries. This is how you end the streak. We gon' build support system services for the people. Attack fascism every time you see destroy. White supremacy from the tree root. Sometimes you gotta be bad to defeat evil. We gon' build support system services for the people. Attack fascism every time you see destroy. White supremacy from the tree root. Sometimes you gotta be bad to defeat evil.
Treating us unequal, but we should put them on trial. So cold they evil. Now sometimes I got to go back to defeat the evil. So cold they evil. So cold they evil. They evil.
I read the Willie Lynch letter, then wiped my ass with the pages. Like a wild horse, the plan was to tame us, frame us, rape us, lock us up in cages. Try to call us evil, but this is how you made us. Still can't fade us. We influence everything. Went from letting freedom ring, the songs that your kids sing. Yeah, black is beautiful and nothing less. Dear America, clean up your fucking mess. But we blessed surviving everything they put us through. Still on top with a perfect bird's eye view. Try to be secretive, but we know how they live. Racist motherfuckers and the crooked politicians hate cause we great, try to stop us too late. Worm on your hook, I never take your bait. Listen, BAD, my crew's hardcore. A-Wall trying to serve it like the spook who sat by the door.
Here the lick, take this left, show you I'm far from alright. Gym teacher used to say, but pull your pants and walk right. First of all, you should never call me boy. You look, I didn't pull out a toaster that resembled a toy. Eat nuts and almond joy. I was never a mama's boy, cause we ain't talked in a minute. The booth feel like home, the only spot where I can chop it up with no limits. Kept it all inner, now I'm writing verses all winter, vying to be a winner. Previously a loser, drug abuser, systematic schematics. I scrub off with vinegar and ginger. I refuse to be used and exploited so powerful sociopaths can purge for more power and play the populace for fools, cause they evil. They so cold, they evil. These motherfuckers is evil.
Support system
goddamn evil.
Hennessy and exotics, cannabis, you feel me? Sponsored, build and destroy, we make noise. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds.
And if that ain't the truth, then I have a bridge to sell you. The booth is the proverbial shrink couch. The esoteric think tank is what the briefing's about. I'm as deep as the frequencies that the speakers vouch. In the event that the brainstorm receives the drought, regulate your hormones before you leave the house. I'm landing the upper echelon region clout. Respectable crafts, a reason heathens doubt. My testicles dragged to the street in Rika style, but I never drop the ball in moments needed now. The mechanical mind is guilty of diaspora. Walk afflicted with peace or reviving violent order. I'm sure fire with vibes is filled with silent aura. Mental fire restorer, different than you kinda sorta. I don't deal with confinement, I'm still inclined and via psilocybin. I still to deal with something real and vibrant.
We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. We made it through cause we beat the odds. Hey, we made it through cause we beat the odds. Hey, all praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods.
My mind at ease, cause I move with the cheese. Sitting with my belly full, them people ain't pleased. They gazed when they placed me in the maze. Mad cause I came out the rat race unfazed. They want me dazed and confused, weak and abused, making up excuses why I always lose. Dad wasn't here, so this is my fear. I'm a failure like him, pass it all through all these years. Nah, here's the thing, I'm a king, you ain't stopping. Keep it moving, A-wall, get it poppin'. Gatekeeper, jaw dropping, I'm never flopping. You damn right, this nigga outsmart them. All praises due, cause we made it through. As the saying goes, mama ain't raised no fool to show what I'm made of. I'm anxious, flexing on the ages in the matrix. They hate this.
All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds. We made it through cause we beat the odds. All praises due, we the gods. All praises due, we the gods. We made it through cause we beat the odds.
Straight from the horse's mouth, they not a law, they bipolar. The proof was in the pudding, a man, not a man. Yakub mobilized his blind followers. Yeah, you one of them hybrid Yakub thieving muck-mucks. Yeah, we see you. The babies are death marching. This shit right here, this shit right here, this shit right here is death. Save the babies. Save the babies. Absolutely. Not maybe. They tried to bury us, but they didn't know we were seeds. Build and destroy. The wise men know how to do both. The wicked ain't building shit. They're only building hell. You're not fucking with positive and negative. You're fucking with dark matter. You better be ready to do both. Build with the righteous. Destroy the devilish men. Love your brothers. Embellish this. This is the unity of intelligence.
Foundation is solid, like a fountain, providing hydration to the purchase. Spray the targets. Knowledge and wisdom embedded in the artwork to start the decalcification of pineal glands. Before we ever bomb first idea plans, create strategies that make masterpieces. Research enemies and attack their weakness. Stock up on shotgun shells, you might need a plan. Ain't got no weapons, time to sling them hands. Poke your eyes out, no I'll beat his and kill you and show up to your funeral. So dapper damn Millennium Falcon style, boy, no Peter Pan. Just to blow your casket to pieces and live stream it from 3 different camera angles. Halfway famous the way our feet mash the pavement. Build and destroy, it's all formulation. Through the concrete jungle full of mud puddles. Stomp through the concrete jungle full of mud puddles. Streets are the streets. It's no
gracious. Oh my gosh, Josh Reisberg, word nerd, verbal Urkel, tongue twisters hurt you. United States will murk you. Case closed. I'm Chris Dorner. Triple K cops, call your coroner. My sermon will make you say yes, sir, man. The system needs murking. It's serving nothing but crooked ops. Mollywops and diddly squat. So I drops dynamites right where you squats. These bars hit you. Served up gifts, proper bar mitzvah. Bullets won't miss you. Perhaps graze your sister. Probably your mama will miss her. I'll drink a fifth and plead the fifth. A true thoroughbred for thoroughbred. Thoroughly over your head. Deo, Mamba G-A-O. Yo, bro, the flow, Stilo is Kevin. Collabro.
Stomp through the concrete jungle, pull 'em up. Puddle stomp through the concrete jungle, pull 'em up. And the streets on the streets. We stomp the streets. Stomp through the concrete jungle, pull 'em up. Puddle stomp through the concrete jungle, pull 'em up. Puddle stomp through the concrete jungle. Stomping in the streets, stomp the streets. We stomp the streets. Stomp through the concrete jungle, pull 'em up.
Yeah. Extra, read all about his twisted hymns mixed with the sins of those who doubt him. They don't want to see this little light of mine brighten up the surroundings on this little fight of mine. They know I'm divine, young black brother in his prime with the power to make the planets align. No big homie, but big brother is the eye in the sky. The fear heightened. You don't hear me cause you an ear to this Tyson. They biting, fuck the swag, I'm talking DNA. Ask Henrietta Lacks familiar. The blues, rock, jazz, and rap, is that familiar? Opposition keeping us deficient of the particulars. 3 heads is better than one, and 3 eyes is better than none. I can see through the walls they put up on the young to try to keep us in the same place, running in place instead of running this place. Keep up with the pace. We sprinters, we don't run for the outs, we knocking them out cold. I'm campaigning wicked for city council. We the people, fuck a poll. We the popular vote. Yeah.
The long outro.
Man, I seen John Crown dropped on SoundCloud. My bad for not clicking on that and listening yet, but I'm gonna get to that real soon, John.
Okay, well we have him in 2 weeks. If I'm not mistaken. Yes, once again, everybody, we're back. The Build and Destroy Show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you nothing. Yeah, next week we got Budaho, and hopefully AWOL will join us to go over the movie, and then John Crown to round out the year.
Yeah, and I want to thank him for still using SoundCloud, man. I don't know why SoundCloud be getting a weird rap, but it's just like any other music streaming platform. So,
For sure.
thanks for uploading on there, and you got listeners everywhere, man.
For sure. Well, just to end on our guest for the day, I thought it was unique that we went into the Henri Osborne, because I remember we had brought it up when we had Ill Eagles on about Northwest MCs, and we didn't go into ours, but I thought about it, and he was definitely him and JFK, like Grayskull, was one of the groups that I really enjoyed their performance on stage, and then the music itself. They both had unique kind of rhyme styles, and then the subject matter. So yeah, I thought that was dope, and to get the good quick answer on the logo, you know.
Yeah.
The face logo practitioners.
Uh-huh.
Oh, the card is full. Okay. Well, I guess we'll have to keep the button pressed then.
And shouts to Big Sock, aka Anaxagoras, in the chat, man. I brought him up on the first half. I met him at Josh Reisberg show. He had the album produced by Boombox Massacre. Is the Rise of the Boom, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little release party at the Swiss, downtown Tacoma. And I met an ex just outside smoking a cigarette. So we were building, and then it was one of them things where that's when he was on SoundCloud and I was, so we linked on there. Traded songs back and forth, beats. Then eventually Skype, just using the old methods of communicating, staying in touch. And yeah, that's my brother, man. We linked together on the hip hop shit, and it's probably gonna keep us connected forever. Just something like hip hop. But I wanted to say, like, I asked about him because he's weird enough to be he's one of them enigmas. So I call him alien myself. So I don't know, man. I just feel like aliens connect on this plane of existence. Like, there's so many people walking around, and I feel like the aliens find each other somehow, some way.
That's a unique way to look at things.
Yeah. It's like all the aliens are aware of each other kind of thing. Even though you don't think that they're in contact.
Or it's the energy.
Or it's that 6 degrees of separation shit. Like, you're probably really close to that, that group. It's not far from you.
No, I think that, that's what most, even just humans, I think, long for, is that connection with community of like-minded folks. It's just, unfortunately, as I think time progresses, people don't have, like, their own personalities. Like, their personalities are becoming copies of things that they see on social media, as opposed to, I think it does have a lot to do with growing up as a kid and what you get exposed to. I mean, we talked about playing outside, and eventually you find what you enjoy the most and you go to that. Some people just never find anything to go to.
Yeah, and then I wanted to say, like, you'll meet people like, yo, I like hip hop, but then you'll meet like the artisans, the ones that are almost nerd level with it, where they want to talk about all these little micro nuance niche things within the art form. So it's always a blessing to meet people like that it's more than just a surface casual level thing. It's more than a hobby. And shouts to my fellow technicians out there.
Hey, well,
they treat every second like it's worth something when they're making music.
Well, because it is. I think we got a gem at this point, which was great for High Rise to follow up his questioning about the pitch agency. So we will be, I think that's something to really delve into. One of the things he did mention, I think, was about the sample aspect and having to create things with sample free. I think that is definitely something that we should all start keeping in mind and thinking about. I don't see why we can't be on a video game or on a commercial or whatever. So, yeah, we're going to be looking into that.
I don't know if you hit your algorithm yet. I think he's on one of those Tacoma Hood channels, Instagram, like them Tacoma Hood pages. But he put a story up probably a week or two ago, and he was just showing how he's getting all these placements on
yeah, you shared that with me.
Yeah, basketball, right? Just like the little cut scenes that NBA's making for their reels.
Yeah, but they got to be sample free because they ain't paying for that shit for someone to sue them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's for you and other producers. I'll have to figure out how to at least have that be a part of your production. You know, maybe not all your beats sample free, but know that look, I gotta have a little basket over here that can make it past these AI software tests as far as because that's all it runs through some AI software to pull out and see if there's any sample. I mean, they do that shit on this YouTube.
You're exactly right. I got a few of those. I got to build on that catalog. I made a few back in the day because there was a beat contest. She's Gotta Have It. Remember when Spike Lee, he redid it? He did like a modern adaptation of She's Gotta Have It. He was doing a little beat contest. He wanted original beats sent to be used for that show. And I remember really sitting down and trying for the first time to make stuff just sample free. Because it wasn't till I was reading that email that it clicked. You do have to have those in the tuck. Because like you said, just this licensing stuff, like, man.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you said, your creativeness is worth something, and I think in this day and age, unless you have the budget to go ahead and, because there's ways to get the sample cleared, but normally you got to have money. There's not really an estate or someone that has the ownership or administrative rights over a catalog that's going to give you a license for free. It's just not going to happen unless you marry the daughter of said license administrator. So outside of that, it's like your only option is to, create shit from the packs, because there's packs out there that have sounds that might be sample similar, but they're not the sample themselves.
Right. No, I wanted to let the people know soon enough, man. I do make beats. I love sampling, but I haven't tapped into my utility belt fully. So in the future, you can expect guitars and violins, keyboards. I have an accordion. I haven't met a player of an accordion yet, but I do have a violin player on deck. I do have a guitar player on deck. It is getting to that point. I'm going to do like what I heard DJ Premier did and what I heard Bjork did, where they just have their musicians jam out and make a recording, and then I sample from that recording. So I'm just going to have humans make my samples. I'm going to do it like that. I'm going to have them jam out, and then I'm just going to use their session, be it an hour long or 30 minutes. I'm going to use that and pick from that. That might not even be a new idea. That might be something that people been doing, but I just want to say it on here. That way I'm held accountable. That got to start taking advantage of our musicians, our local musicians and artists that can play.
Yeah. I mean, that's, yeah.
Because I'm in Olympia, man. I know people that are really, man, these open mics out here. And some of them are my friends, so it's time to have those worlds meet each other, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, to me, that opens you up to a couple different realms also. That opens you up for that live performance, because you're going to take that studio session, that's your sample base, but what comes out of that will be different products, and then you can then come on top of that and send them the finished products once you finish songs, and they'll be able to be the live backing band because their sounds were the basis for the production anyway.
Yeah. I was already want to do that. Hello World. I'm cutting my album right now. I'm recording. working on drafts all the time, but that's been my latest and greatest thought is, get some of these musicians that I know and incorporate them in this process. Like they're sitting there. They're just waiting. They're waiting to play, they're waiting to smash the worlds together, and it's deserving of it.
Look, I'm I'm in it. I ain't a musician, but I can be there recording as the documentarian to, that's the storyline.
I'm ready for the all hands on deck approach now after being so self-contained, and insulated.
Yeah,
It's
you
time
got the
to-
network. You got to start
Yeah.
tapping them resources.
Right. So that's one of my goals that I just want to lay out before the new year even get here. That's where I've been heading.
Now I'm trying to branch out too. I'm gonna reach out to a homie to try to get some assistance on upgrading the camera setup here and be more prepared for a mobile pop-up situation. Probably upgrade on get a new mic for actual recording, so we can, got the news last night that I'll be recording AWOL's final solo album. So I said, yeah, I think I might need to go ahead and invest in a new mic for that.
Hold up, final.
He said it's his last solo album. He didn't rule out, features or collab stuff. We still got our project that we ain't released. We just got the 2 singles out there.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's fair. Well, shoot, that'd be an honor for you, man, to have credits on something like that.
well, that's why I need to upgrade and be prepared.
Yeah.
I might even fuck around and nah, that might be too last minute. Try to figure out a new software. Just stick with what I know. All right, well, shit. We were just rambling on. We ain't even got to any of our topics. What do you want to start with?
The Nas.
Okay. Well, I did hear a couple songs today.
Yeah, man. I don't know what people wanted from it, but I enjoyed it. I liked it because it just did things that normal. Basically, when I heard it, what came to my mind is, man, people this rich don't talk about stuff like this in their songs. So I just applauded him for doing like Junkie, the songwriter, the song Bouquet for the ladies. I just applauded him for the concept themes alone. Just deciding to touch on things that needed spotlights. They've been needed spotlights on them. And I know certain people were critiquing like, oh, he's just listing a lot of names. But early on, I think that's what MCs were doing initially on the stage.
Shouting people out.
Yeah, so
Getting
for
paid
me,
to shout out the gangsters.
Yeah.
Hey, I gave you $50 to talk about me
That's
and my
it.
crew. How dope we
Yeah.
are.
So I don't know if people didn't catch that side of it. Like it was an ode to that. And that never gets old. Sharing the love and spreading love. I don't see how people would have a critique with that, but thank you, Nas, for giving me something that I needed before I died. I needed the closure. You gave it. You're still fresh as ever at your age. I hope to even be able to rock, a third of like how you rock at that age. Like, man, homie,
Listen, I'm trying to get songs with people at this point.
you could tell who loves hip hop, man, and who just be dallying. Like, Nas really loves music and hip hop, and he's a child of Slick Rick. and he loves Grandmaster Caz, and it goes back to our last episode, man, earlier on. Like, that's a man that loves Grandmaster Caz. So you listen to his music and you could tell who loves Grandmaster Caz and who never heard of him. So like every scratch on the album was deliberate. The sample choices very deliberate. The drum breaks were an ode to something before us. So if you didn't like it, it might have not been for you. It wasn't for your time. But it's for you when you get to that age where you can appreciate that time.
Yeah, I heard a breakdown from someone else describing it as Nas giving an epilogue for hip hop as a whole, and that the first 3 songs were maybe likely out of the scope for based on your age demographic. You know, I only heard a couple songs, but I heard the writers, and this even draws back to, you know, some of our conversations with our previous guests on their involvement even today in hip hop. You know, having some experience in spray painting shit.
Yeah.
in an artful fashion, not just you know.
And Nas don't do graffiti.
Yeah, so but I'm saying that is how it shows how important the hip hop culture overall, and because he was there during the time, you know, just like Smoke said, you know, he couldn't fucking break dance, but he was there because it was pulling him in. He couldn't deny himself to the point where he's getting his fucking high school credits filming breakdancing. It's an easy win-win. You mean I get to use the school camera equipment and go to the breakdance competition, and I do so fucking dope that they send me to some national shit, and I get to be, look, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about him saying he was in the second round knockout video.
So ill.
I should have spent the halftime break trying to pull it up and find the section, the timestamp where it shows some young kids. Like, all right, we got the clip now. Like, I'm gonna prepare that for next week. So I'm gonna have that ready for next week.
Because he didn't realize he has a rabid cannabis fan in the room. Like, as soon as he said that, I was like, yo, I just want to hit him with all kind of shit.
Yo, well, it'd even be dope if, you know, it sounds like he's probably a person like me. I hate to use the negative terminology of hoarding, but sometimes that is part of the job when you're collecting and archiving history. You know, someone has to keep it. Someone has to hold it. Someone has to think it's important. You know, nobody. So it contributes to this show. Like the question that I pulled up on Julie C and quoting Larry Mizell article, you can't do that if you don't have the article.
Yeah.
So, and even I'll give you a heads up and to the audience. I got 2 for John Crown.
Good shit, man.
I got 2 locked and loaded.
So yeah, that to me, that's what Nas did. Like, to wrap it up, a lot of those songs were, I understood what he did after a few listens. Aside from him delivering the song using his voice, he took himself out of it. He sacrificed this album and this time and space to just shine flashlights on stuff, on like dark crevices that haven't had the light shown on them. And I do commend him for that, because again, like, yeah, he brought himself up a few times, but there's a lot of sacrificial space on that album, and he extended it to the people that helped build it. So I love how he's able to take a step back, actually.
Bro, the writers that he mentioned, think about what this means to them, just to hear their name on this project. This level off of the run that Mass Appeal has been on, and this is the culmination at the end of the year. And that's like a talked about song of the album. Because there's some people talking shit about like that. That's the part I'm with you. I don't understand how someone it could go over their head that this is what hip hop started from first, of you big upping, whether it's the gangster or the host of the party, the family that's throwing the party, whatever it is. That's your job as the MC during that segment.
It was like 10 minutes long. That's why them songs was 10 minutes. Because 5 of it was shouting everybody in the room out.
But yo, to dedicate one to graffiti writers, like everyone that he shouted out, even if he didn't shout you out individually, he said a bunch of crews. Like most of them people is in their 60s, 50s, and 50s at least. If you're an old school graffiti writer from the early 80s or late 80s. That means you had to be a teenager in the 80s, at least. So that means you was born in probably the 60s or late 60s, maybe right 1970s. So by 85, you're 15. But you're still at 85. That's late in the graffiti game, That early graffiti shit was like 79, 78, even before that.
And then, like, think of the poetic justice of, like, graffiti, right? So you could scrub that. You could paint over that. But Nas stamping you on the album. Nas time stamping you. Now you get, that's like digital graffiti. Like, that one ain't gonna get wiped. That one's there now. So it's almost like getting chiseled in stone in our modern day. Getting shout out on a track by an artist like that.
Oh, that's a good song in my eyes, because it had some motivating feeling. Like when I listened to it, it had me hyped. Like I was ready. Like make you want to bust out the spray cans and like, yo, I need to go and hit something up. Yo, I walk around with a marker or a piece of chalk or something. He was talking about Josh too. That was crazy. That's a high rise. Always got a paint pen or a big permanent marker in his bag, ready to write his name on some shit.
That was KRS-One, Out for Fame. That song. Graph Heads got very few anthems for them, but this is like the new Out for Fame by KRS for sure. Like, you want to bomb to that track.
Shout out Marcus Lee. We got some heat coming on your productions for sure. I was working on a track last night. Wax figurines.
Shouts, aka.
All right, well, shoot. I didn't get a chance to listen to the Conway, so you'll have to give your breakdown of that.
No, that shit is hella fresh. I don't understand. Well, it don't even matter. It's just he's on there rocking by himself for the most part. You got Rock Marciano on there. I don't know what's going on between the Griselda family, but you don't see no Griselda on there. It's just Conway. I know they try to keep it cordial, in public, like, oh, there's nothing going on, but Conway rocking by himself for a few projects now is kind of telling. I don't know what's going on, but he can clearly hold it down on his own, though. A+ rapping skills all across the board. DJ Who Kid on there, so you get a little nostalgic moments. But yeah, I'm proud of him, like I was proud for Game. Just people that can hold things down on their own despite differences or whatever's going on in the industry. I love that. 'Cause some people are a little bit more codependent in the industry, where that does matter if they don't have that feature. but some of these guys, they can, if you're there, that's great and awesome, and if you're not, you can still pull it off. So that's it. It's a sign of integrity and skills.
Nah, yeah, like I said, I haven't listened to it, but I did listen to probably 5 joints off the game because I didn't hear it last week. Yeah, I might definitely have to check out the Conway. As far as
G Herbo, I want to say G Herbo's on there for a feature. But yeah, you know what it's like when the gang's not there, kind of thing.
Well, my question would be, is it under, what's the label and situation with them? Because I'm sure Conway and Benny, because Westside Gun is like the label head, as far as my understanding of the whole Griselda.
Split off. Like Benny went Def Jam, and now he kind of has his own thing.
Oh well, yeah, I forgot there was the bidding war, so they all got their so that's the proper execution of the plan. Everyone gets this separate bag. It's like Wu-Tang. We come out as a group. We build up our momentum, and then everyone go get that separate bag. But why, you guys wouldn't come through for the next album? It could be that he's really particular about the project, and maybe he does have songs with them, and it just wouldn't fit on here. I mean, 2 in a row, that is kind of questionable. I could see it different if you didn't have any features on it, but if you 2 projects in a row and you don't got neither one of the homies, yeah, that's kind of wild.
I want to listen to 21 Savage next, just off the title. Just something about the streets is dead. No,
it's called what happened to the streets?
Yeah, like that's what I guess that's the ghetto nigga translation of that is he's looking at it like these streets is cooked.
What happened to the streets? Yeah. Yeah, again, this would be one that I wouldn't even try to listen to.
Why?
Because he's not an artist that I can deal with. Like it would be really work for me, and I would rather leave that up to you and High Rise, the real consumers. Like, you're gonna listen to the shit anyway. I'm not gonna force myself through, and because that's gonna give me a more jaded opinion. I'd rather speak from the perspective of someone that ain't listened to the music, but I can read the internet and I can watch reviews of what other people say of the music, what other people say of your interviews. And at this point, all I've seen is controversy about his interviews, or one in particular, like hours before the album dropped. Like, and him saying a bunch of foolishness. And then someone doing a real compare contrast to his normal release figures. And his last album was in 2024, and there's I can't quote the numbers off the top of my head, but I feel like he was ranging above 10 million as far as streams, because that's how they count shit now. It's not sales. It's like 10 million streams the first day, or it was between like 10 and 15 or something like that's where he was averaging. And this album, it was like 4 million. So it was a big drop off from being in the 10s, 12s, 15s down to 4. And
to me, it's like me listening is going to be like a nosy neighbor listen, because Atlanta specifically is in kind of shambles right now. Like, their streets have been on Front Street, like the problems going on with Atlanta and whatnot, and I don't know. I kind of want to listen for like a heat check. Like I want to hear what is Atlanta going through, and why do people want to move away? And like aside from the Young Thug stuff and the Gunna stuff, like what else is it that's contributing to like a mass exodus from Atlanta? And like Drake's on the new project, so I'm like, I want to heat check that, and like, what does he got to say on an Atlanta rapper's album while he's dealing with his Atlanta problems? Like, I want to hear Drake's 2 cents too.
Well, apparently, yeah, he's got one feature. He's got a feature from Drake on the album, but yeah, the reviewer or the reaction that I listened to, I can't remember the name of the dude, but he was like, yeah, if you're trying to find out if he answers this question posed from the album title, you're gonna be highly disappointed. And he was coming from it was like a white dude coming from the perspective of, this would have been a very interesting question to tackle. Like he like really describing it like you, like, man, from the perspective, technical, him as an Atlanta artist, all the turmoil, like everything that's going on. The title was the perfect album title, but the content inside the box when you open it up ain't what was advertised. And again, I'm just going off reactions, someone else's reaction that actually listened to the shit, that had expectations. This is not an album and music that I will listen to. Just be honest. I'm not going to waste my time. There's other shit that I still have to go back and dig through.
No, just this last Friday especially, man, there was a wave of stuff. I didn't even name all of them, but I'm glad Christmas break is coming up, so I can sit down. Because, yeah, some of the stuff ain't just passive listening. You gotta actually listen and see, like, is this worth investing anymore? Like, yeah, we just gotta see who love it at this point, because it's so easy to monetize off of nefarious purposes and reasons, man. And listening to music is precious. Like,
it's your time. Moment. It's your time, and it's your time. Like,
and when you're listening, like you are investing. Like, it costs brain cells, so the shit ain't free.
And shoot, I also at this stage, it feels like I said, some things. I think you and High Rise developed a more open-mindedness approach to want to give everything a chance, where I feel more boxed into what I will enjoy. So I don't give a lot of things a lot of chance. I would rather, at least give the chance to artists that I have experience with, and maybe I'm not caught up on stuff. So, like the De La Soul, they're a group that's before my time. Honestly, when I'm teenage years, I think they might have had one really major song. But I enjoyed listening to that album, and I listened to it more, songs more than once. It had replay to it. And I think about just acknowledging and understanding when shit is not for you. Like, it's okay to not burn your brain cells on that, and to focus your brain cells on catching up to the other stuff. Because I still got to go through the Eric Sermon Dynamic Duos. I've got through a few of their songs. I got through a little bit of the game, but not the full album. I'm just trying to really be cognizant of my time. And I think sometimes as artists, we got to respect that of the audience and the consumer. Like, even if you do some experimental shit, like, know that everyone ain't gonna fucking rock with it. And don't, like, feel some kind of way when you get people giving you bad reviews, when you defer or, you know, veer off from your normal path. Like, that is part of that quest, that side journey. When you decide to go off on a tangent, you know that there's going to be people hating that you're not on the main mission right now. And just accept it and be prepared for it, and don't complain, and get back to your main mission at some point. It's okay to hit side quests, but it's called a side quest for a meaning, for a reason, because there is a main mission that you need to accomplish. So don't go so far off in fucking RPG land that you forget what the main goal is.
Yep.
And we had our guest today who he said himself, I thought that was maybe going to be something someone had to pry into, but he makes his living as a producer. And he gave us game. I'm trying to think about making beats right now, because there's no website that you could just send lyrics to.
Yeah. Shouts to Dan Butler. I remember when I first met A-Bomb in Olympia and was collaborating with A-Bomb Kid. I don't know if he's A-Bomb Kid anymore, but remember I went to his house, recorded. There's a dude named Dan Butler in the other room. Full studio setup, recording in there. Doing like heavy industrial, like goth type stuff. But one of the in between smoke breaks, he's like, yo, come listen to this. And he's playing us his stuff. He's basically a video game music developer. So he created music for video games. And just, I can't even imagine where he is and what he's doing at this point right now. This is back in like 2009, 2010. So shouts to Dan, wherever you are, man. I know you're probably on 100 games by now with the work ethic that you had. I remember he was using SoundCloud. Like, he used to post his the rough drafts of the music on his SoundCloud page for the video games that he was working on.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, I think the goal of any person that really considers themselves to be an artist is to make a living from your artistry. And I think in music, well, a lot of art, it's very difficult. There's very small routes that most people traditionally try to go about. And now I think with the internet and what we have available to us, it's a large, wide open spectrum of things we can actually do, because we don't need to make all the money in one spot. Like, we just need to make a little money here, a little money there. Look, it looks like High Rise is popping back in for our last couple words. Well, let me go with this for our final topic, since he's back in. The radio meltdown. It started with DJ Enough, and then
was Ebro? Did Ebro happen? Did it happen to Ebro?
That's the last. That's the most recent. I think it was on Friday. Their show got canceled. So there's a lot of angles and ways to attack it.
Give me 5 minutes and I'm there.
You go first, since you got 5 minutes.
Well, I'll just buy us a little bit more time. You know, I just saw the headlines of Ebro's. That looks like it just happened. But I'm aware that radio's changing, and A lot of these old, dinosaurs, not I don't want to say that in a bad way, but the Charlemagnes, the Peter Rosenbergs, the Ebros, the Angela Yees, the Angie Martinez's, Funkmaster Flex. They've all been affected by the changing sort of nature of radio, and Mr. C, and a lot of them passed too during COVID or right after. And I think it's just coming to a head. It's like a perfect storm on the radio world, that format's changing or dying. Those older people are so far removed from the music that they're sort of forced to play every day. And I think a lot of those people got into radio not wanting to just gossip and just do hip hop, R&B, TMZ. And it's probably bittersweet that some of them are like getting pushed out of a genre that's changed, while they're in it. So I don't know. I think it's just a lot of that, different things happening.
Well, it sounds like Funk Flex is just taking over all the time slots at this point. I swear. It sounds like he's doing the morning show, and then they're going to have some afternoon middle filler, and then he's coming in to rock his night show. Because that was the first elimination. He had the night. I think he was from 7 to 10 or 7 to 12 or something. And then they took out whoever was in the middle of the day, and they made him start from 5 to 10. But now if he's doing the morning show too, I don't know how many hours that is. I think it's only 2 hours for the morning show. I don't know. But it's definitely a decrease in manpower and people that you have to pay. I'm sure if, I'm going to put the prediction out here first. The AI radio show.
Yeah.
They're not going to announce it as that, but it's going to be some new person. They're going to train that voice up properly to not sound like anyone, but I bet it's going to be a woman too. Because the woman AI voices, I think, are easier to sneak in. And
yeah.
It's going to be a new radio host that you never see. But here's what's really the issue with Ebro and that station is they didn't go the internet route. They were above the Breakfast Club in actual radio stats. What the Breakfast Club did was put their shit out on YouTube, which the other station was like, they didn't want to do it. COVID hit. Everyone was zoomed out. But when the things released up, they stayed zoomed out as far as Ebro in the morning. They stopped coming in the studio and having guests. And, they were actually could have excelled because their product was more specific to hip hop. It wasn't a bunch of gossip shit. Even if it was gossip, it was at least hip hop gossip. Like the Breakfast Club was having random people, like they was on the politics shit. They had the Hillary Clinton hot sauce moment. Like they had so many random moments with the comedians and all types of people. Whereas Ebro's show, it was more hip hop focused, I think, and they had a chance. They missed it by not going with the YouTube production and not coming back into the fucking studio when COVID restrictions lifted up. They wanted to stay home and rock it from Zoom because we can. We proved it. We did it for however long they did it. So that was the missed opportunity.
I hear you.
Because the Breakfast Club ain't going nowhere. They got they paying more people. You got to think about it from a money aspect. The talent on these shows is not cheap. I guarantee you, even the people in the background on Ebro show, the two engineer dudes, they're making at least $200,000 to $250,000 a year.
Ooh.
So you add in Ebro, Laura Styles, Rosenberg, they're making at least 300 as talent. That's over $1 million that you just shaved off.
Yeah.
By eliminating them.
Yeah. Plus all of their, I don't know, probably had health care, pension.
Yeah, that extra shit that doesn't come in the check, but that the company pays on your behalf.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, you can feel bad for them. You know, your point was definitely correct. Radio was on the way out, but the Breakfast Club can still be a show without the radio station. They have
It's
now
such a nostalgic thing at this moment in time, growing up and like having a particular voice in your head of radio people that you grew up with or that you remember, and you know, are just being stuck in the car and forcibly having to listen to some DJ, some disc jockey, you know, whether it be like who your parents listen to or whoever's just on the station that you listen to as a kid. Like that experience is gone, especially it being localized too. Like I remember growing up and being able to listen to the hip hop radio show on like KUPS, and different colleges would have them. KPS was like the most well-known one, but I remember catching random ones, and I bet that that opportunity is pretty much gone.
Well, I don't think
the kids growing up now, they're listening to like Ed Lover on the radio or something has absolutely nothing to do with their region. They're not playing any local music. They're not breaking any local artists. They're not talking about any local culture, any local shows, the local scene. It's absolutely nothing. You close your eyes, listen to the radio, you don't know what city you're in. It's just the most generic experience. Whereas before it was like absolutely different depending on what city you were in, and just how much of a more of a boring landscape it is right now on the radio.
Well, I think there are still, like KUPS, as far as I know, still exists. It just, people just don't listen to the radio. Like, and their programming, I'm pretty sure, is the local shit, but it's more based on just being a subsidized college radio station to where regular people don't tune into that. You know, it's the kids from their college got to promote it to their homies. Yo, I'm gonna be on the radio tonight. Our band is doing this, and that's kind of the limit. Whereas, yeah, back in the day, this was part of everyone's medium. I can't tell you the last time I actually listened to the radio. Like, the radio comes on automatically in my car, but I turn it off immediately. I've never skipped through the stations or tried to program it. So, but again, the shows, like the Breakfast Club is a show. There's kids that don't even know that this is on the radio. They just see it on YouTube. They just see it as the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought this was just a TV show. So they'll last as a production, even as they. And so the runners of that show are smart. Same with Joe Budden. We talked about this last week. Joe Budden is trying to set it up to where he doesn't have to be there, and the show will go on and continue to draw audience and be engaging, because that's what it is. And it's essentially it is a radio show without being on the radio. It's just on YouTube.
I don't know. I don't know. I think the Breakfast Club can last, but I don't know if it'll always be subsidized on a radio show. Like, I think the Joe Budden podcast can last because it's independent and it's a podcast and he's got his own system. But, you know, the Breakfast Club could move over to something like that and just become a show that exists on its own. But I bet it won't last on terrestrial radio.
Well, that's because the station ain't gonna last. I mean, if the station goes out of business, then you know this one show isn't gonna save radio. But the show can live on. Now it's not on the radio. It's just on YouTube.
But it'll become niche, you know, for people that are of that generation. You know, like, I don't think Joe Budden's podcast gets new listeners. It is what it is. People who know Joe Budden and that, like, tune in, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think kids are listening to it.
I don't know.
I think it's adults.
I think that's part of what he's trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Is maybe he doesn't need to grow.
I don't think he does. I think they're sustainable.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He just wants to make sure when he leaves that a bunch of people don't leave, that he's got it stacked up enough to where his audience, everyone is normally going to have on something like this. It's the same as The View. It's a bunch of ladies debating on daytime TV, and it is a certain demographic. Yeah, they're not getting no new young people to watch The View, but there's plenty of fucking 45 to 85-year-old white ladies that are going to watch this shit. They don't need to get new 45 to 85-year-olds. They just need to have the same amount that age up into 45 that are dying at 85.
I wonder if The View is like a generational show at some point. Like, do moms and daughters pass that down?
I wouldn't look at it like that. To me, that's a show that you age into. It's like as you're in your 25s and 30s, you're not agreeing with what these ladies on this show are saying. But once you get to 40, 45, and 50, you're like, you gonna buy a ticket to go to the show and sit in the audience. Because guess what? That's the type of show that can keep going as well. Because you just rotate in new 45-year-old women. You just keep the board diversified. You got one black lady, one light-skinned lady, one Latina lady, and two white ladies. Look, we got the board covered.
Is that where all of Oprah's fans went? To The View?
I think she owns that show.
Mm.
Because, yeah, I think I don't even know if her TV network still exists, but it was a thing for a while. The Oprah network. I mean, I know she got money in Dr. Phil, and he has his own network now. Yeah, she put him on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, shit. We going into the randomness. I think we got our good Patreon clip for the day, so we won't need to really. I'm gonna still hit record.
Next week, do we got John Crown?
No, next week is Budaho, and hopefully AWOL comes through.
All right, I'll send out reminders. Maybe AWOL can get the night off work and promote his movie.
Woohoo, movie night.
Well, we just need him to pop in for at least a good 5 minutes, if he's at work.
Did you review the movie at all, Wicked? Did you talk about the movie?
No.
Do you want to? Or you want to save that? Let's save that we'll save that.
Yeah, we got next week. So.
That makes sense. Okay.
Well, YouTube family, we tapping out here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It don't cost you nothing. Build and Destroy show every Sunday around 5 p.m. We'll be